they loved his energy, they loved his outlook, they loved his perspective. I think they loved everything about what he would bring to this particular job.
He wanted the Jets job.
He is energy personified. He will be involved with the entire roster. I know the Jets are ecstatic that they got him.
You have great relationships with people like that, they'll find a way to get you that stop on 3rd and 1.
I think he has a great poise, a great feel for players, a great understanding of this game, a great football mind.
Bringing this program back to respectability, bringing this program back to winning games and competing for playoffs and Super Bowl, that is the #1 goal.
It's great to be home. We are all gas. We're going to be a team that this whole entire community to be proud of.
It's about his presence. It's about being able to inspire.
I wouldn't want anybody in this building who doesn't want to win every damn game.
Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. I'm Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio. This is a momentous day. It's just minutes ago, the Green and White introduced Robert Saleh as the 20th head coach in franchise history. Coming up, I'll be joined by Jets alums Anthony Beck and Eric Coleman for their analysis of the coaching hire. Plus, Olivia Landis and Ethan Greenberg will chat with Jets CEO Christopher Johnson and GM Joe Douglas, respectively. 1 week ago, the Jets and Saleh agreed in principle on a deal that will set the Jets on a new course. After announcing 9 completed head coaching interviews, Saleh met with team officials last week at One Jets Drive. And soon after, it was clear to all parties. The Jets wanted Robert Saleh, and Robert Saleh wanted the Jets. He had a vision that captivated the Jets, and he found a place he wanted to call home. Lauded for his leadership, Saleh spent the past 4 seasons as the 49ers defensive coordinator. His units pumped the gas to the floor, and they never let off, no matter the situation. Douglas said that Saleh's energy, knowledge, and focus are contagious and will serve the Jets well as they continue to develop their culture. Johnson added it was clear that Saleh will partner with Douglas to help foster a winning roster the Jets are striving to establish. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in 10 years, and Saleh believes there are no shortcuts to success, stating that he is committed to working with Douglas to build the right way, with talented players who play fast and smart, matched with a capable staff that will continue to develop them along the way. Saleh knows there's a lot of work ahead, but the Dearborn, Michigan native who climbed the ladder in the NFL during stints with the Texans, the Seahawks, the Jaguars, and the 49ers has already gotten started. Robert, you said it was clear to you throughout the process that this was the right place to call home. Why?
You know, I come from a city where where it's a very tight-knit community where people communicate, people lift one another up, people have each other's back, and so having the chance to meet with Christopher and having the chance to meet with Joe and Jaime and just the collaboration, the communication, and the whole entire process, the way they organized it, the way they communicated throughout the process, the interview process, all of it felt like home.
What did you sell the Jets on as far as your vision is concerned, and what kind of identity do you want your team to have?
I don't know if it was a sell job. It was just communication. I think they wanted to hear a plan. We talked about it. We talked about offense, defense. We talked about everything. And and so it was just a tremendous amount of communication and sharing visions of how they saw it, how I saw it, and how we saw it together. And that was the biggest thing. But with regards to identity, just talking about this all gas, no break mantra. And like I've said, it's not about effort on the football field. It's that all gas mentality. When you wake up in the morning, are you stepping on the gas and doing everything you can to be a little bit better when you go to sleep? Every moment of every single day is with the mindfulness to get a little bit better, and that's what we're going to represent.
How important will the next few months be for you and the entire organization when you look at the draft capital here, also the financial flexibility, and as you embark on this partnership with Joe Douglas?
There's a lot of tape to watch. There's a lot of discussions to be had, and that's what I love about Joe. He is ready to talk ball. He's walking up to his office and vice versa, and we're already trying to talk and just give ideas. And I can't wait to really sit down and go over the roster and the different plans that he might have and how we see it, and just the collaboration that's going to take place. With you can have all the draft capital in the world, you can have all the money in the world, but unless you do it together and unless you communicate and do what's best for the organization, it really won't matter. And having that mindset that Joe has, I can't wait to get to work with him. It's going to be awesome.
The start of a new era here for the New York Jets. Let's bring in both Eric Coleman and Anthony Becht. Eric, since you're the former safety and Saleh's specialty is on the defensive side of the ball, what did you think, what you heard from him today?
I was excited. You can't help but, love a guy who is all about that commitment to the players. He's all about, he talked about all gas, no brakes. As a defensive player, as a football player, that's really the way that we live our lives. And to understand that you're going to have a leader that's going to respect you as a person, that's going to help you be the best player that you can be, who's going to expect everything out of you as an organization, out of every person that walks in that building. I mean, you can't accept but to be happy. He's asking the players, he's asking the staff, he's asking everyone in that building, when you wake up in the morning, is it all the decisions that you make, are they helping us get to the Super Bowl? Are they helping us get better as a team? If everyone can buy into that mindset, this team is going to go far, they're going to get better, and it's going to be very exciting to watch.
Anthony Becht, we got love for you too, because Saleh played collegiately the tight end position, of course, at Northern Michigan. What did you think about what he said today, what Eric was just referencing? Investment. If we invest in you, the player, like we invest in our own children, it's going to be reciprocated. And at the end of the day, this is going to be a process, but we all have to be better when we go to bed at night compared to when we woke up in the morning.
Look, there's a lot of styles, different styles of coaches. Eric's played for many of them. I played for, 6 or 7 different head coaches, 2 locations, fired a coach mid-season and brought a new one in. So I've seen it all. I've seen a player's coach. I saw a demanding coach. The coach I think you need right now is exactly what he's telling you. He wants to – it is a business. And the defining thing he said, but, you've got to get to know your players. You've got to get your players to believe that you care about them. And that ultimately, that's how you get them to fight for you and run through walls for you. And it seems passionate and it's genuine. And everybody that I've talked to, they say the same things about him. And that's what you need as a coach, I feel like, in this day and age and the players that you're dealing with. Some other things that stuck out with me in his interview that he said is he won't be calling defenses or play calling during the season. Immediately, the things that came to my mind was that's great because he can manage a game. He can go offensively, he can go defensively, he can give input, but yet still be dialed into what needs to be done in a game situation, timeouts, clock management, all of those things that I think is important, but he can also manage the team during the game. When you're a play caller offensively or defensively, sometimes you get drawn away from those things game day, and I think that's something that players need as well in this game. So the fact that he's going to dedicate his time as a CEO, a true leader of an organization, and let his coaches do their jobs and really handle everything that's really bring a part of it. That's something different that I think not a lot of teams across the NFL have. And as you see some of these hires, or maybe some going to that route or want to go to that route. So I think that's what really stuck out with me for him early on, at least listening to him and speaking to some people that know him well.
You're watching a Jets Overtime special presented by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio. Let's look at that head coaching resume right now. The background of Coach Saleh. Starting at Michigan State, working his way up. He had 3 stints at the collegiate level before. Eric, as we look at this graphic, what do you think about some of the mentors along the way? We think about Gary Kubiak with the Houston Texans. Pete Carroll had a monstrous impact on this guy. Gus Bradley with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, of course, they did some damage there in San Francisco the last 4 years. That was quite a build. And that's what I love about this hire is he just came from a situation, guys, where the 49ers were able to turn the program around.
Yeah, when you look at the coaching tree and what Coach Saleh has come from, you can't help but get excited. I mean, he came into San Francisco with one of the worst defenses, turned them around to a top 5 defense every single year he was there. Coaching under guys like Gary Kubiak, Pete Carroll. He talked about Ken Norton Jr. He talked about Chris Richard. All these guys are hard-nosed coaches. They have great relationships with their players. They're into developing their players. And when you watch them, when you watch football games, when you watch the Seahawks play, when you watch the 49ers play, all these teams that he has coached on, they're all having fun. And it's exciting, as a player when you can get excited about going to work, you're putting in the work together, everyone is invested, that the coaches have your back, and that's the kind of atmosphere that Coach Saleh wants to have here. And, it's just very exciting.
Anthony, a lot of, when you look at character, how do you respond to adversity? Yeah, in 2019, the 49ers had perhaps the best defense in the National Football League, and they rode that defense to a title game appearance against the Kansas City Chiefs, where they held a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, last year, decimated by injuries, but they still finished 5th overall in the league. They finished 4th against the pass and 7th against the run.
Well, that speaks to guys buying in, right? Normally when those second-tier, third players come in, there's a drop-off, or guys aren't quite as detailed, preparing themselves to play and fill a role of a starter. He clearly was able to get that message across to his players to get them to play at a standard that didn't drop as much as you talked about there. So I think that's a remarkable feat. It's very hard, and we saw firsthand here with this football team this year with the injuries offensively, how there's so many issues that come up, really all teams across the season during the year, trying to find ways to get players to play at the highest level, and he truly proved that. The one person that he mentioned that is a very close friend of mine, is one of his mentors, was Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley was a backup linebacker coach in Tampa Bay, trying to grasp knowledge, trying to understand the player in the coaching world. We would have long talks. I remember talking to him during training camps, and he wanted to know players' perspective and get to find, what they feel like and what they want to be like and how they want to be coached. And, that's what he mentioned in his press conference, learning from there. So the bulk of the coaches that know him well from his time in Jacksonville, about 90% of those guys are friends of mine that Gus brought on. And I'll tell you, they had some really strong opinions about how they felt about Coach Saleh. And I think it speaks volumes. He reminds me, his personality of what Gus Bradley was about. Very genuine, very true. Guys can immediately trust him. And this is something, I think, a path that he's learned from Gus Bradley in his time in Jacksonville, and also Seattle. But this is something I'm excited about, because I got a lot of respect for Gus. I know his word means a lot to me. And when you're talking about coaches being highly intelligent, articulate, a coach with great passion, build relationships, meaningful relationships with players, and gaining that trust, and also having head coach material. Like, can he do it? Can he carry the load at a young age as well? I mean, these are things that are happening. You see it across football. It's a younger batch of coaches coming up, and you see by just some of the early hires that he's talking about, his staff is really becoming and shaping up to be very strong. And I'm excited about some of the names I'm hearing that could potentially join his staff as well, that got my juices going. So Jets fans should be really excited about not just him, but the staff and everybody else that's going to buy in and be a part of what he's trying to build.
Jumping off of that, let's talk about humility here. A lot of guys might come in and say, hey, my expertise is the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to call plays. And just like Anthony said, he's brought in Jeff Ulbrich to be his defensive coordinator, and he said he's going to handle defensive play calling. I'm looking at this from a CEO-type level. First time NFL head coach here.
I love it. I love it. He's holding his coaches accountable. He's holding the players accountable, and he's putting trust in all these coaches. You know, he understands that he got here because of his defensive play calling, but ultimately he got here because of his relationships and the success that he got out of these players. And, you know, you look at him as a coach, and if he's a guy who can go over to the offense, go into the special teams meetings, you know, have personal relationships with all these players, motivate all these players, that's going to lead to a better performance out there on the field in a close-knit group. You know, I played for coaches, Anthony, I'm sure you played for coaches that are all about X's and O's. You know, the personality isn't there, and it doesn't transfer over to the field. The way that you have success is building that family atmosphere, holding each other accountable, and having a head coach that you understand that has your back and that he's going to be putting in just as much work as you, if not more, to help put you in position to make plays. So, you know, if I'm a player on offense, I'm on defense, I'm super excited. You know, you understand that as a safety, he's going to understand what's going on. You know, he knows defense very well, but on offense, you can relate to him as well. So I think it's just a bonus to this team, and he's going to be a great CEO and just a great leader for this organization.
So many things to get to here on a Jets overtime special. Anthony, what do you think about the partnership now? Joe Douglas led this coaching search for the first time in his NFL career, along with CEO Christopher Johnson, team president Jaime Elhai, and Christopher said it, as soon as this man walked into the complex at One Jets Drive, we knew he was the guy. But I just see a lot of striking similarities on the surface between Saleh and Joe Douglas.
Yeah, you know, they're very real people, right? You know, I haven't met Robert yet, and I'll meet Coach here, you know, in the coming months. But just meeting Joe, you know, he's just a real dude, a guy that, like, and, you know, I say the word dude, but that's what, you know, he is, but he's just knowledgeable. He went from the bottom, area scout, worked his way up to the top around some really prominent general managers and organizations. That's the knowledge that you accumulate over the years on a bill. You know, Coach Saleh is the same way. Learning, you heard him say it, gathering information, understanding what it takes, not only from an X and O side, but also how to, you know, coach and engage with people. And then, you know, Coach said it in his interview about having that relationship. They felt like they've known each other for a long time. Listen, I've been in a lot of organizations where GM and head coach butted heads, weren't on the same page. And I'm telling you, it's the worst way to get your organization run the right way. The best way is being able to throw things at each other, which Coach mentioned, and also just, you know, having that policy where you can come in and everybody's just thinking in the same avenue and on the same road. But it's also good to have different ideas. And when people have different ideas, Eric, you know, you want to make sure you hear it, listen to it, and take account to it. And unless if it makes sense from an organizational standpoint, you buy into it. If it's not, you talk it through and you make the best decision. Right now, I feel like these two guys, being that they have that mesh and they feel good about, you know, what they've done early on, just being together and introducing each other to one another, that they feel that connection could be strong, and it's got to be, because if it's not, this team won't have a future. And I think that's what Christopher and Jaime and Joe have put together to really, that they felt like this is the guy to buy into and feel good about working with.
Let's now hear from the man, excuse me, who led this head coaching search. Of course, is Jets GM Joe Douglas. Take it away, Ethan Greenberg.
Joe, why is Coach Robert Saleh the right person for the Jets right now?
Robert brings passion. He brings intensity. We were really impressed with his presence and his plan, his vision for what he wanted the identity of the team to look like, and then his plan for the exact path to get us there. So there's a lot of things that really impress you when you spend a little time with Coach Saleh, but those things stood out.
You know, you mentioned vision in your answer just now. You also mentioned vision as part of the characteristics that you wanted in a head coach. Without giving away state secrets, how would you describe Coach Saleh's vision for this team?
Physical. You know, he wants to play fast. He wants to play physical. He wants to play smart. And so those are all the characteristics that we're trying to build in this team. And so, you know, love a lot of his mantras, love the all gas, no break. I mean, the energy that he brings, his ability to connect and engage with every player he's been around in his career in the National Football League and college football. So we were thrilled to to hear more about his vision and the specifics on the identity of the team that he wants.
And had you ever met before the process?
No, actually, no. We'd never had a chance to meet before this process. So the first time we met was actually on the Zoom interview. And everything that we had heard about Robert leading up to the Zoom interview was quickly confirmed. Just with his integrity, his passion, his energy, just very impressive.
And how would you describe the difference of the first interview and the second interview, other than the nature of one being virtual and one being in person?
I feel like we were able to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time on the Zoom interviews. I thought the Zoom interview format was very helpful throughout this process, but actually being able to get him in the same room with me and Christopher and Jaime, just being around him, just you get a better feel for his presence and just his command when he walks into a room. So those were some of the really important things that I think the second in-person interview brought.
Awesome, Joe. Appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Watching the Jets Overtime Special presented by Bethpage, Federal Credit Union. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio, joined as always by Anthony Becht and Eric Coleman. Over the past 4 seasons, Coach Saleh has coordinated the 49ers, and the past 2 seasons, well, actually, there's 2007 to 2018. Look at the discrepancy to where he took them, 2019 and 2020. So, guys, Eric, I'll start with you here. We talked often about the draft capital the Jets have and the financial flexibility. And draft picks are fine, and they can come in and help your team. And they can be the bedrock, but not unless you develop them. And what we've seen from this man at various stops throughout the National Football League is players have developed under his tutelage.
Yeah, I mean, and you love to see that. You know, if you're looking at a head coach, looking at a defensive coordinator, and just seeing the process, the growth of that defense. I mean, yes, they have a bunch of stars on the defense, you know, but you also have to look at the fact that they lost a lot of them. You know, you look at Bosa was out the first game of the year. Eric Armstead got hurt. They lose DeForest Buckner in free agency. Richard Sherman was out most of the season, and yet they still got better as a defense. They continued to perform. They kept that 49ers team in the season, in the playoff hunt, and that is a credit to the coaching staff. All the players buying in, all the coaches buying in, and developing those young players who, listen, you may not be getting reps right now, but there's going to be a time where your number is called and you have to be prepared because you're only as good as your weakest link. And I think as long as the Jets can continue to develop these young players, sprinkle in some free agents, some big names in free agency, player development is the way that you sustain and have great longevity for a football organization.
All gas, no break, Anthony. That's something that people have said about the new Jets head coach. And when we talk about him moving forward, what people have said is, you see him on the sideline, he's jumping all up and down. He's fiery, he's passionate, he's hitting guys. He's bringing the juice. But inside the classroom, he's a different guy, calm, calculated, and he also is a master chess player. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but he's a thinking man. So there are 2 sides to him. He's a complex dude, and that just speaks to what the Jets are getting. You're not just getting fire and brimstone all the time.
Well, you know, being a head coach, there's a lot of responsibilities, right? I mean, you know, having that detailed thought process you talked about, being a master chess player, that's a big part of dealing with people and players. You know, not everybody's the same. Not every player has the same mentality, the same attitude. You can't coach those players the same. You have to find a way, though, as the head coach to get through to each and every one of your players on the field. And let's be honest now, you know, the head coaching part of this, getting the right guy, is part of the puzzle. The rest is also putting the pieces. He had some really good players in San Francisco, some very good defensive players. He was able to have a prepared team this year when guys went down. Those things are going to help him, obviously, moving forward. And a big factor why he was, hired as the head coach. But now the important part's up, that the head's coming together now and finding the right pieces. the players that are going to stay on this roster that are there now, and who those new pieces are going to be through draft, through free agency, through moving different, players getting cut and released and signing. That's where it comes in. And once you get those things together, now you got to meet and find out how you can get through to each and every one of those players so that the product on the field not only is good, but can hit the ground running, and you can have success now. Because you talked about it from an asset standpoint, the draft picks, the players that are in place now at those positions that they feel good about, and the new players that'll be here through free agency. It's very easy in terms of watching this thing in other teams where you can flip this and win and be ultra competitive now. And I think that's the goal that they're all trying to put into place for this team and this organization to be successful as quick as possible.
All right, let's look at Saleh's 10 lessons of coaching right now. This comes from an article published on 49ers.com. Let's stay there for a second, fellas, in the back. The top 5. I'm going to read them out, and then, Eric, I'll ask you what jumps out to you here. Ignore the noise. Trust the process. Do what you love, and love what you do with enthusiasm and passion. Coaching, it's hard. Dominate the things you have control over. Ready versus prepared. There's a difference. Prepare for everything. The 3 most dangerous words. I got it. You must approach each day with humility to get better. There's the key word today, E. Eric, what did you think there when you saw the top 5?
When I look at the top 5, the one that you just mentioned, those 3 words, I got it. That really jumped out to me because we've all been, Anthony, I know you've been into a meeting and the coach is yelling at a guy like, Anthony, why don't you go do this and that? And he's like, oh, I got it, coach. And if you had it, then you wouldn't have made the mistake. So, it's coming to practice with humility, understanding, listen, this is the league of the best athletes in the world. Some of the greatest minds in the world coach this sport, play in this sport, and are out there on the field. So you do have to be humble, with your approach. Understand that the hard work that you put in is what you're going to get out in the field, expecting that out of your teammate as well. So I think that humility, working hard together is something that jumped out to me.
Okay, bring up 6 through 10 right now. Thanks, fellas. The NFL is a precision league. Every detail matters. Stay true to yourself. Be authentic. Relationships matter. Seek accountability. Put together the right team. Create an identity. Invest in your team. Make everyone around you better. Anthony?
Well, I have to choose from those 5, right? Not the first 5. So listen, details, man. Details mean everything. I built my career around having the answers and preparation because of the details of the game, the details of the technique, the details of the game plan, the details of everything my coach asked me to do allowed me to play 12 seasons in the NFL. And that's the difference. And listen, that's not an easy thing. He just talked about it in his previous 5. He said, coaching is hard because you're trying to get that through to every single player. And like I said, different personalities, different ways guys learn, but they all have to be on the field and they all have to be very detailed. And that is the biggest challenge for coaches. And he understands that. So that sticks out to me because that's the only way I knew how to do it. But yet that wasn't the way that a lot of guys that I played with understood. So that's a very important part of it. And I think that's the one that he'll have to strive for to get those guys to believe in and do is the details.
The Jets have a new CEO of their coaching staff. Speaking of CEOs, let's get to Olivia Landis, who's standing by with Christopher Johnson.
Christopher, throughout this head coaching search, what initially stood out to you about Robert Saleh?
Well, go back to what I said a few weeks ago about what we were looking for. We were looking for a leader of the entire team, end to end, a CEO type. He fits that bill. He has an agile mind. He's a terrific leader. You listen to players in his past. You listen to coaches who have worked with him. He has methodically, from the start of his coaching career, turned himself into an extraordinary coach, and that's recognized around the league. And it was clear to us in our first virtual meeting, and then confirmed, and more so in our actual meeting together.
How important is that relationship between Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh?
Well, I see my role in this building the primary role is finding the right people. And then, as I said a few weeks ago, letting them do their jobs. And with Joe and with Robert, I'm just convinced that we have the right two people to lead this football team forward. I think that fans should feel very happy about the state we're in right now.
What would you tell Jets fans all over the world in what to expect from Robert Saleh as the next head coach of the New York Jets?
Well, this coach, they if they don't understand already, they will soon. They're going to see a man who's enthusiastic and a great leader. He will be the kind of coach who adapts the game to an opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and adapts our own team to our strengths and weaknesses. I just can't wait to see it happen, and I know that fans will enjoy what we have ahead of us.
You are watching Jets Overtime, presented by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio. A very big day here at One Jets Drive. I'm joined as always by Anthony Beck and Eric Coleman. AB, you're seeing a lot of the coaching staff announcements come in. What has caught your eye?
Well, specifically on the offensive side, I have personal experience with one coach and know two others, but Ron Middleton is the new tight end coach for the Jets. Ron was my tight end coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Ron was the best tight end coach that I ever had. And listen, I have a high standard for the coaches that coached me. I mean, honestly, once I got past my 6th year, I probably was my own coach and was probably being asked by a lot of those coaches on my opinions about stuff. But Ron was a guy early in my career when I left the Jets that I really just learned and got me over the hump. And Ron's great because not only is he a great tight end coach, he played the position for 10 years, and he played it in a way that, he was with the Washington Redskins and the old Hogs team. He played it in a way that tight ends probably don't like playing it, where he was a nasty blocker, a tough guy. He's going to bring great personality to the team. He's got a flamboyant, he's just a guy that just loves the game. You'll hear him on the field, and the players will automatically gravitate. I'm really excited about Herndon and all the other tight ends that are going to get a chance to work with him moving forward. Obviously, John Embry's a former tight end that he'll be coaching running backs. A lot of experience. Guys that I played with in the league that got coached under John Embry at the tight end position, whether it was with Washington or with the 49ers, really spoke highly of him, learned a ton. He's going to be great for the offensive side as well. Greg Knapp is just longtime quarterback guru, right? Just a guy that has been able to work with a lot of great quarterbacks. And, you see the rest of the staff. I've heard a lot of great things, but those are personal experiences for me. Really excited for Ron. I spoke to Ron earlier, and he's really pumped up about the opportunity. I'm excited for him to be on the staff. So these guys are premium coaches. And when you're a CEO coach, like Coach Saleh is, and he's not going to call plays, you can go get the best around you to do those things. And I can even speak to Jeff Ulbrich. He came into the NFL with me in the 2000 draft, had a lot of battles, him being a former linebacker and myself when he played in San Fran. And now he's worked his way up to coaching ranks. And again, they're going to be able to bounce a lot of stuff off each other defensively and come up with great plans. So listen, if you're a Jets fan, take it from me, you should be excited about what you're seeing. Those staff, those coaches that are coming on board, those are guys to get excited about the Jets and the organization.
Eric, Ulbrich is an energy guy too. I think in Atlanta, where he served as interim defensive coordinator after they made a coaching change during the year, they said, this is a guy who consistently brings the juice. I wanted to ask you about defensive schemes, though. When we think about the Seattle tree, going back to Pete Carroll and Jacksonville and Gus Bradley, and now what we've seen of recent times in San Francisco, what do you anticipate? Do the Jets become a 4-3 team who favor more maybe that wide 9 approach with their defensive ends and more zone? But what we saw last year, I should say this, is Saleh changed. He was open to change, and he continues to talk that way as well. So I don't want to put these guys in a hole and say this is exactly what they're going to do, but what do you anticipate scheme-wise?
Well, scheme-wise, I think of Coach Saleh's mantra, all gas, no brakes. And when you look at San Francisco, when you look at Seattle and the way they play defense, they play a lot of 4-3, a lot of cover 3 defense, and you don't have that paralysis by analysis where guys are out thinking themselves and they don't trust their instincts on when to go and when to break on a play because they're thinking about the scheme and who has what guy. When you play a lot of cover 3, when you play a lot of zone, it allows guys to play to their natural strengths, play to their gifts, go out there and not think, just react and play aggressive as you should on the defense. You know, I see guys like Quentin Williams having a big part in this, playing that 3 technique if they move to the 4-3 defense. You know, this will free up, you know, for guys like Marcus May, if they're able to retain him, to roam around the field, add in some more blitzes, be in run support, just play to his strengths. And, you know, as a player, it's always great to be able to play a coverage when you can go out there, you understand your responsibilities, you understand where each player is going to be, and you can just let your hair down and let it rip. And I think that's how you get the best out of your players on defense.
Hey, Anthony, let's go to the other side of the ball and talk about scheme. Mike LaFleur, the new Jets offensive coordinator. He was the passing game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers coming from that Kyle Shanahan system. Saleh talked about it today. You're going to see them run the football. You're going to see a lot of motion. You're going to see quarterbacks out there on the move. One thing that we've always seen, the trademark of that offense, it's a bruising attack, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mindset and an attitude. It's something that, you know, you have to demonstrate day one to your players what that expectation level is so that they know from day one what it's the physicality that's going to be asked of them. You know, you look at the 49ers offensive line, very physical, aggressive, you know, and they didn't, you know, they weren't full household names across the board. It was a mantra, right? And that's the expectation level. Guys will have to buy in. There are some tough players now on that offensive line. Becton, McGovern, these guys understand that they're going to have to be the bell cows for this. And then also he mentioned, you know, making sure plays mirror what you're doing when you're running and passing the football. That keeps a defense on edge. You know, Eric can speak to this. Motion, shifts, you know, not knowing or seeing similar things, and you feel like you know what's coming, and then all of a sudden there's 1 or 2 or 3 other things that feed off of what you've seen earlier in the game or in your film study. Those are difficult, and that's being on top and making sure that you don't have certain tendencies that teams can fall and take advantage of. You want to make sure you're different, but yet everything's built in the same. So listen, that's a great way to do it. When you get those players and the right pieces in place, it's going to take a great running game, great offensive line, and a smart quarterback. And those are the pieces that they'll begin to make sure that they groom heading into really starting now after, you know, his announcement or his hire that they're going to get dialed in to do.
All right, we're going to talk quarterback next segment, but right now, let's go back to Olivia Landis, who earlier this week caught up with NFL Network's Peter Schrager.
The head coach search is officially over. They are hiring a former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, Robert Saleh. Can you talk a little bit about who he is as an individual?
I've gotten to know Robert really well over the last probably 5 years. Knowing the San Francisco organization very well, being friendly with Kyle Shanahan, I've been kind of let into the doors on some of what they're doing there in San Francisco. And Saleh has just jumped off the page to me since the first moment I met him. And what you learn from Saleh is that he's this fiery, energetic, high enthusiasm guy on the sidelines, but he's a very calm, sweet, gentle man off the field. And he connects with other men and women in a way that few I've ever seen do it before. This is someone who wants to be the coach of the Jets. And from what I believe was the first coach hired in this coaching search. And if you're a Jets fan, know that there were other teams who were very interested. And he went out of his way to say he connected so well with Christopher Johnson and with Joe Douglas and with Jaime Elhai, who is the president of the Jets, that this was his number one destination. This isn't him settling on the Jets. He wanted to be the Jets head coach. And with him comes a ton of enthusiasm and, more importantly, a ton of respect.
What can Jets fans and players especially expect from him as the next head coach?
So I think a lot of Jets fans are excited about the energy and all that. What they also might be wondering is, all right, that's great, but what the heck are we going to do on offense? He's a defensive coach. And I've spoken to Saleh, and I've also spoken to Brandon Staley, who's the new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. And I've asked, this whole feeling that you need to have a young offensive coach. What about you guys being defensive coaches? And Saleh's whole pitch throughout this interview process was, I can be in every room. Like, I can go and talk to the special teams. I can go and talk to the linebackers. I could also go talk to the quarterbacks. He's going to hire offensive staff that can do wonders. He's going to have a feel for the entire building, not just, okay, the quarterback room. I need to make sure this guy's comfortable and I'm going to be calling the plays and all that stuff. No. This is a CEO. This is someone who is going to touch every level of the organization and, most importantly, every level of the team. I think Jets players are going to be ecstatic, but I also think Jets fans are going to see immediate rewards to this. This is going to be a team you're going to want to root for, and there's going to be a head coach that you're going to want to support. I think there's better days ahead for Jets fans, and I think there's better days ahead for Gang Green as a whole.
Everybody's excited. You are watching the Jets Overtime Special presented by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Now let's bring in Ethan Greenberg, who is across the studio, a couple steps away, more than 6 feet apart.
Thank you very much. A socially distant Jets Overtime Special presented by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. So a week ago, January 14th, 10:20 p.m., the New York Jets tweeted that they had agreed in principle with Robert Saleh to become the 20th head coach of the New York Jets. And shortly thereafter, a bunch of people, players, media analysts, took to Twitter and gave their 2 cents. So you would expect some former players, of course, would wish him well. Of course, let's start with Richard Sherman, who played for the 49ers the past couple of years. And he said that the New York Jets got a great one. Congrats to them. You might expect that because Richard Sherman played on the defensive side of the ball, just like Robert Saleh coached the defensive side of the ball. Well, the Jets hired a CEO-type guy, a leader of men. And so what does that mean? Well, Joe Staley, who's one of the most decorated players in 49ers history, said, I'm so excited for Saleh. He's a leader, an unbelievable man and coach. Can't wait to watch him turn around the Jets organization. So now we have offense, we have defense. How about special teams? Well, Robbie Gould, same thing. He tweeted as well. He said, congrats to Coach Saleh and his family, the New York Jets. You got a great coach and an even better person. So right there, those are 3 players that used to play for the San Francisco 49ers or still do. And then you think about other people around the league. Let's head to Instagram, where the NFL had this post, and you have Russell Wilson said, great coach, better man. Of course, Russell Wilson and Robert Saleh were with each other with the Seahawks for a little bit. I'm sure Russell Wilson is very excited that Russell is now excited Saleh is here out of the NFC West. And then DeForest Buckner used to play for the 49ers before he got traded to the Indianapolis Colts. And he said, phenomenal coach and an even better man. So right now we have former players. How about some current players, meaning some current New York Jets? How about Big Quinnen Williams, who I'm sure is going to be hearing a lot from Robert Saleh in the coming future if they have not spoken already? Quinnen clearly very excited. Yes, sir, he says with a couple emojis. And then we have to wrap things up with the big ticket, with the GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it. It doesn't matter because clearly the big ticket is very excited saying, yes, sir, let's work, coach. And just hearing you and Anthony talk about that Mike LaFleur system, that Kyle Shanahan system, sure seemed like Mekhi Becton's going to like the physicality of that one.
Oh, yeah. Mekhi Becton's ready to get after someone right now after watching that news conference today. As I would say, I bet you Jets Nation is ready to run through a wall this afternoon. It's only January, but it is going to be a fun few months as he gets to work with Jets GM Joe Douglas. A lot of decisions ahead as we bring back Anthony Beck. Unfortunately, we lost Eric Coleman, but he'll be back on Jets Overtime coming up here in the offseason. Anthony, what did you make of the way Coach Saleh addressed the quarterback position when he was specifically asked about Sam Darnold today?
Well, he talked about how he game planned. He knows Sam because he, had to play against him this year. So he got to watch a lot of games, watch him play, which is a good start. Listen, you buy into exactly what he's saying, and I would do it the same way. You got to evaluate the whole entire team, from top to bottom and find out, who's going to fit what you're trying to do. And it's going to take some time. I know there's a lot of different things out there, people swirling different things, but you have to find out for sure, who the right players are, who the right guys are. It starts with the quarterback, starts with your tackles, your tight ends. Tight ends are a huge position in the Kyle Shanahan offense, a fullback, a moving piece that can go in the back. So those guys should be excited about their potential and opportunity in this system. So again, just trying to figure out who's going to fit. And then from there, we'll see what happens.
Eric Coleman is actually back, so that's awesome news. And Eric, I wanted to go back to the safety position and actually talk about something that Joe Douglas mentioned here earlier this offseason, that the Jets have 19 or 20 players with expiring contracts. But he said that he wants Marcus May part of this team moving forward.
I think that's exciting to hear him say that. Marcus May has been one of the more reliable players. He's been consistent. He's one of those guys that's trustworthy and has shown that he can make big plays for you on that back end. He's not the loudest guy. He's not the most vocal, but he's a great leader back there. He helps run that unit, and you don't see a lot of mistakes. When I look at secondaries and I look at the safety position, we're all communicators. We have to be all the cornerbacks, the nickel, the other safety. We all have to be on the same page. And when I see Marcus May back there, he's an excellent communicator. He's seldom in the wrong spot. He does a great job in the open field, and one of those players that you just really want to be a part of your organization moving forward, especially when you transition to a new coach like Robert Saleh.
All right, we have unpacked so much today, and I didn't even ask you guys about the leadership structure. Christopher Johnson said Saleh is going to report, in fact, to GM Joe Douglas, but I like how Coach Saleh talked about that. He said, we're all going to be on the same page. It's irrelevant who has the final say. Anthony, your final thoughts today.
I think that's crucial. It's so important for everybody to be in the same direction and understand exactly what you want. Saleh's going to want some guys in free agency or in the draft that fill particular needs defensively, and they're going to look for character traits and other players that they're going to need for the whole team. And they got to be in line in what they're looking for. And when they're in line in what they're looking for, Joe can do his job better with his staff. And of course, from there, Christopher and Woody are going to have ultimate confidence because these are the two they hire for the future. So listen, this is an exciting time. Anytime you have something new that's fresh with the ammo the Jets have, the next couple months are going to be really fun to watch and really crucial months moving forward. And let's see what this team, and let's see how they build it. And let's see what they got put together here once free agency and the draft is complete.
How about you, E? You got a leadership structure in place. You got draft capital. You have 2 first-round picks, number 2 overall, number 23. You got 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. You got 6 picks in the top 100 overall. You got financial flexibility. You got a lot of holes. There's a lot of work to do, but I think it's safe to say things are pointed in the right direction.
Absolutely. And when you look at the leadership structure, in my opinion, that's how it should be. The head coach and the general manager working together, the head coach reporting to the general manager, and them getting on the same page. One thing that Robert Saleh said was he talked about communication. And he comes from a large family. He comes from a hardworking town. And listen, communication, that family atmosphere is going to be paramount. And, as you look on social media, you see a lot of veterans. You see a lot of players from around the league who are excited, and they're listening, they're watching to see what Coach Saleh does. They're seeing what moves the Jets are going to make. And this is going to be a very desirable space for a free agent player to come play for. You look at guys like Richard Sherman from around the NFL. He's highly respected. He's done it at a high level throughout his career. And when you look at other players watching, and they say, listen, Richard Sherman has a great relationship with them. Fred Warner has a great relationship with them. All these players that he's touched have great relationships with them. That's a great start for free agency. And then not to mention all the draft picks. You can build that foundation off these young players, find out their character, bring in the right kind of people to build on. This is going to be a very exciting next few years, and hopefully, next 10 years with Robert Saleh.
Oh, I love it. You guys are the right kind of people. Appreciate your analysis as always. We thank everybody at home for tuning in today to a Jets Overtime special presented by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Thanks to so many people who helped us out today. Ethan Greenberg, Olivia Landis with their contributions as always. We heard from Christopher Johnson. We heard from Joe Douglas, Peter Schrager. Coach Robert Saleh is now the first Muslim head coach in National Football League history. And Saleh is also the 3rd Arab American head coach in the history of the National Football League. He struck all the right chords today. The Jets celebrate a new era, but now the work begins, and we'll be with you every step of the way, Jets Nation. Get over to NewYorkJets.com. Check out all our social media platforms. So much information rolling in. Have a great day.